Hello and welcome to the broadcast. To NTV Tonight starts right now.
Tonight, wanted KRA staff grilled at the DCI. The rest arraigned.
The nature of investigations herein are complex, restricted. They touch on our old tax system.
Staff to spend 14 days in custody as detectives continue investigations.
Plus, 15 suspects arrested. Sledgehammer heads impounded. Scheme linked to sitting senator who conned a member of UAE royal family.
And 160 teachers interdicted over CBC training. The effect?
Inatubidi tutafanya watoto kama PP1 PP2 na grade 1 wanafunzwa na mwalimu mmoja.
Education CS wants none of it.
I have no authority, and we respect each other so much with Dr. Macharia, that I would not go into her area and start giving directives there.
Also tonight, a mother's caring hand turns murderous. 21-year-old Kericho mother kills her 3 children and then herself.
NTV Tonight with Dennis Okari and Smriti Vidyarthi.
Very good evening and thank you for joining us in this news broadcast. Remember, you can watch us online at NTV Kenya on Facebook, Twitter, and also on YouTube, and also www.ntvkenya.co.ke. Our sign language presenter tonight is David Gondoa. Tonight, about 80 Kenya Revenue Authority staff are spending the night in various police stations in Nairobi.
Well, 38 of them were arraigned today, facing various corruption-related offences, and will be detained at 3 police stations. Another 40 who surrendered to the DCI this morning were detained for close to 12 hours and later transferred to various police stations in the biggest graft purge, the tax agency. NTV's Seth Olale is still on that story.
38 Kenya Revenue Authority employees will spend 14 more days in police custody. The suspects who are being investigated for abetting tax evasion, money laundering and abuse of office, among other corruption-related offences, will be held at Muthaiga, Kileleshwa and Gigiri police stations. The state had wanted them detained for 21 days. The prosecution told the court that, at the time of arrest, the suspects' mobile phones, laptops and other equipment confiscated from the suspects were still being analysed. The prosecution says the investigations into the web of graft are complex and will require more time. The defense teams, however, opposed this application, saying investigations had been going on for over 4 months and thus the suspects should not be detained further. They further argued that the police ought not to have arrested the suspects until the investigations were complete. Resident Magistrate Paul Mayova directed the suspects be detained for 2 weeks and that the matter be mentioned on the 27th of May 2019 to confirm the progress of the investigations. The suspects, most of whom are drawn from the Domestic Taxes Department and Customs Border Control Unit, were arrested on Friday at various KRA offices in Nairobi, Thika and Mombasa. The court heard that detectives have so far confiscated 178 mobile phones from the suspects. As the 38 suspects were being arraigned at the Milimani Law Courts, close to 40 others surrendered at the Directorate of Criminal Investigations headquarters along Kiambu Road. DCI Director George Kinoti had ordered the 48 staff, a majority of whom are from the Domestic Taxes Department and the Customs Border Control Unit at KRA, to surrender themselves by 7 o'clock this morning. Those who surrendered were detained for most of the day and are expected to spend the night at the Muthaiga, Pangani, Kileleshwa and Gigiri police stations before being arraigned in court on Tuesday. Detectives investigating the tax evasion cartel at the Kenya Revenue Authority will next shift their focus to senior managers and commissioners. The crackdown is meant to seal loopholes and leakages within KRA that are believed to have led to the loss of billions of shillings. Seth Olale, NTV at the DCI headquarters, Kiambu Road.
In the wake of the graft purge at the KRA, its top leadership spent most of the day in closed-door crisis meetings, even as pressure mounts on Commissioner General John Njeraini to step down after his extended term expired.
Well, a number of KRA staff kept off their workstations, slowing down operations there. Ken Mijungu also reports that a social media account has been created in solidarity with the staff under investigation.
While the courts were swirling with Kenya Revenue Authority staff battling corruption charges, at the Hemingway's Hotel in Karen, the flurry called the top KRA management to a crisis meeting following graft allegations and a cleanup that looms ominously over the Times Towers. Despite this whirl of activity, little else was going on in a number of the Kenya Revenue Authority offices. What began on Friday with arrests has now morphed into a paralysis of services at the Kenya Revenue Authority as uncertainty gripped its workers who abandoned their workstations for the better part of the day. In reaction to these happenings, the Kenya Revenue Authority board and managers took their meeting to Karen, where the media was kept at bay, but sources within the meeting said it was tense, as an accusing finger was pointed at the management, ostensibly for failing to rein in on the junior staff. Some junior staff, however, want the management, specifically Commissioner General John Njeraine, to take responsibility for their crumbling house. They accuse him of instigating the arrests to divert attention from the imminent exit from the tax agency. Njeraine, whose term was extended, was set to leave last Thursday, but he is staying put in the middle of the crisis that has crippled services. His term had ended last year when he attained the retirement age. In 2017, just at the end of his term, the entire Kenya Revenue Authority board was dramatically sent home. The board had resolved to replace him after he attained the mandatory retirement age of 60. He was given a 2-month extension after he agreed to forfeit his leave days. The Edward Sambili-led board was then replaced by the Francis Mudaura-led board, who also gave him notice to leave, but no suitable replacement was found. Activist Okia Mtata had also moved to court to seek orders to compel the Kenya Revenue Authority to send Njeraine on terminal leave and appoint someone in acting capacity. But the court dismissed this application, allowing him to continue serving as the Commissioner General, noting he was appointed to serve a fixed term that came to an end. He was due to leave when these arrests happened. Those arrested on Friday were tried in court. Their colleagues attended the hearings in solidarity, saying those were only victims. Njeraine was appointed in 2012 by then Finance Minister Uhuru Kenyatta. He has served for 7 years instead of the constitutional 6 years. Since his entry, the Kenya Revenue Authority has perennially missed its target and continues to face the daunting task of raising revenue to finance the government's expenditure. The Kenya Revenue Authority is also accused of enabling pilferage of public funds and not putting measures in place to ensure tax compliance. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
Well, let's move on now to another story where Kilimani, 15 people are today arrested in Kileleshwa Estate in Nairobi in connection with a fake gold racket that has baffled even security officers.
But even as police continue to scratch their heads, the number of foreigners claiming to have been conned of millions of shillings in the counterfeit gold trade has reached alarming rates, despite Kenya not being a significant producer or exporter of the precious metal.
The United Arab Emirates royal family is allegedly among the latest to fall in the trap. NTV Zainab Ismail reports that the thriving fake gold trade has had the DCI urging embassies and high commissions to caution their nationals coming into the country for this business.
This apartment in Kapotei Gardens in Kileleshwa area in Nairobi is now the latest in the list of homes at the center of a fake gold syndicate in the country. DCI detectives on Monday evening raided the home and arrested 15 suspects, 12 men and 3 women involved in the fake gold racket inside the house. It is in these black boxes that the fake gold lay. The officers loaded the over 50 large black boxes said to contain the fake gold onto a truck for forensic investigation. 8 cars were also impounded and towed to the Kilimani police station. They include 2 Toyota Axios, 2 Mercedes-Benz, 1 Toyota Crown, 1 Toyota Prado TX, 1 Honda Insight and a Subaru Outback, all parked within the residences. Also confiscated were numerous mallets, computers and bags of cement. Most rooms in this house had been fitted with biometric locks. This comes at a time when a senator and 2 other politicians are under investigations for allegedly defrauding the United Arab Emirates royal family of 400 million shillings in another gold scam. The legislator is reportedly among 6 people being investigated for the fraud that has even attracted the attention of the ruler of the Emirate of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. The royal family allegedly paid the 400 million shillings for the release of about 9.5 tons of gold, which had been allegedly seized at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Detectives say that in most cases, the prospective gold buyers are invited to the country and shown bars of genuine gold allegedly exported from the Democratic Republic of Congo before they are asked to make payments. They then travel back with the hope of receiving their consignments. But that is never the case. They find fake gold, mixed cement, stones, even iron in boxes sent to them instead by the sellers, who are believed to have protection from crooked security officials. Zainab Ismail, NTV.
What a con. Now elsewhere, the fate of interdicted teachers continues to hang in the balance after the Cabinet Secretary for Education, Professor George Magoha, refused to be drawn into the conflict between the teachers and their employees, the TSC.
Well, the CAS maintains that the 160 teachers interdicted for disrupting training on the new curriculum can only be reinstated by the TSC. This comes as schools in Kajiado bear the brunt of the interdictions, with 58 of the affected teachers coming from the county.
Pupils at the NTV Primary School in Imaroro Ward, Mashuru Sub-County, Kajiado, are struggling to handle the blow dealt to their learning ambitions by the Teachers Service Commission. This is one of the schools where teachers have been sent home by their employer for allegedly failing to toe the line as far as embracing training for the competency-based curriculum is concerned.
Tumeacha walimu wachache, walimu wa PA tu ndio tumebaki. Inatubidi tutafanya watoto kama PP1, PP2 na grade 1 wanafunzwa na mwalimu mmoja.
A total of 58 teachers from schools in the sub-county have been interdicted this term. 20 of them are head teachers drawn from the 34 affected schools.
There is no way you can single out one zone in the entire county, and it is in public domain that the CBC training never took place in all sub-county, even 50%.
The 58 are part of the 160 teachers from across the country who are facing similar disciplinary action from the TSC over what the employer says is disruptive behavior over the last holiday when the TSC had ordered the training of teachers on the CBC.
Anybody, including our very revered and good teachers, anyone who breaks the law will have to be answerable. And this is what I kept saying. I'm being misquoted by everybody. I have no authority, and we respect each other so much with Dr. Macharia, that I would not go into her area and start giving directives there.
The CS says the teachers will have to resolve their issues with the TSC. But while that resolution process is still in the works, pupils of schools like Entepesi and Ole Sereneti in Kajiado will continue to bear the consequences of that disciplinary action. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
Documentation relating to 1.5 billion shillings allegedly burnt in a fire that brought down the building housing the procurement offices of Migori County was top on the agenda as the county executive led by Governor Okotho appeared before the Senate Accounts Committee.
According to the governor, the county can account for every cent of the 1.5 billion shillings, but the committee insists the county must provide evidence within 7 days. Kennedy Murathi has the details.
In their ongoing audit of county spending, the Public Accounts and Investments Committee had invited Migori Governor Okotho to answer questions relating to the 2017-2018 financial year. The governor presented himself despite threats by governors to boycott the committee until issues about documents pertaining to the national government spending, finding their way into county's reports, were sorted out.
With the position that Honorable Oparanya has taken, that is my chairman at the CUG. Actually, wherever he is and seeing me here, I think is equally very, very disappointed.
During the sitting, an audit query relating to questionable usage of 1.5 billion shillings took center stage as documentation was not provided to the Auditor General at the time of audit.
Data analytic of IFMIS record revealed that expenditure totaling to 1,562,479.87 was incurred and paid from 1st July to 24th September 2017. However, the expenditure could not be forged due to lack of relevant documents and financial records, which alleged got burned during the fire outbreak, leading to limitation of scope.
The fire raised down documentation for 3 months as the county transitioned into a new financial year. The documents were payment vouchers, contracts with suppliers, and also hardware in the form of computers, printers, toners, and stationery.
The 1.5 can be traced and accounted for completely via the records that are available. Payments made via IFMIS, and if they were made to suppliers, it can be ascertained. It is real. I also mentioned here that out of this, we paid salaries, and if you count, those are 3 months. Look at my wage bill per month. Do you want to say that even the over 200 million that I pay per month, if it is multiplied by 3, it becomes over 600 and paid via here?
What you ought to have done was to take 1.5 billion spent during that duration and break it down and say 600 million went into salaries. No one will doubt that salaries were paid. 200 million went to the assembly. No one will doubt that the assembly got money. 400 million went into project ABCD. That way, we would cut this conversation. But your response talks of generalities.
Now the Senate wants him back in 14 days with proper documentation, including payment vouchers after the Auditor General has verified information he has given to them.
If you commit that within 7 days, as proposed by Senator Omanga, you are able to itemize the expenditure during that duration, that would take us one step forward. Obviously, the only step that will be missing will be the documentary evidence to support that expenditure.
Governor Obado also called out the committee for prioritizing shaming governors by settling political scores at the committee.
For example, now I have my senator here. He can't come here to roast me. And Bwana Chairman, I hope that if you will attempt to roast me, you will also give me time to roast him.
But even as Governor Obado appeared before the Senate committee to answer to audit queries relating to the 2017-2018 financial year, the Senate committee was adamant that any governor who will go against their wish of appearing before the committee will be held individually responsible and not collective as the COG. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV at Parliament Buildings.
Right, elsewhere, a lab technician working at the Nairobi Women's Hospital in Mombasa has been arrested and suspended from work for defiling a 13-year-old girl who had been receiving treatment at the facility.
The Class 8 girl had been diagnosed with malaria and was admitted at the facility for further tests and treatment. Sharon Baranga with more.
When Mariam, not her real name, fell ill last week, her mother took her to Nairobi Women's Hospital in Mombasa for treatment. She was diagnosed with malaria and was admitted.
She was almost becoming better. I had to take a little break to go home and take care of the younger one in the house at around 11 in the night. So I prayed with her and left her to sleep.
On that night, Mariam reports that a lab technician identified as Hilary Ocheng told her to head to the lab for tests. The Class 8 pupil obliged.
Then the technology suggested to her that he would massage her so that the pain would go away. He started massaging her well. He massaged, but now he was going overboard. He started massaging her private parts, breast. So she tried to fight back. She pushed the technician, and the technician got somehow uncomfortable, came out of the room, checked that and ensured that there was no one around the corridors, and released her to go.
In a statement, the hospital management condemned this incident, saying, and I quote, "We would like to assure our patients and the public that, as the Nairobi Women's Hospital, we value, care and uphold the dignity of all our patients." End of quote. The hospital says it has since suspended the lab technician as investigations that will ensure justice is served to the family continue. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Quite a disturbing story there. 13 people died on Sunday night in a road crash involving a bus and a trailer at Tula area along the Thika Mwingi Road.
Well, at least 11 people died on the spot after the Garissa-bound Grand Bus Service Sacco bus collided with a stalled trailer about 40 kilometers from its destination.
Following the late Sunday crash, the National Transport and Safety Authority (NTSA) has suspended the Grand Bus Service Sacco's operating license as well as the 2 drivers' licenses after preliminary investigations.
The NTSA says the semi-trailer driver did not place warning signs on the road after his vehicle stalled.
NTSA explains that the PSV driver should have been more careful considering the crash happened on a straight stretch.
The Garissa-bound Grand Bus Service Sacco bus was involved in the collision that occurred a few minutes to midnight on Sunday at Tula area along Mwingi-Garissa Road. The entire left side of the bus was torn apart with some seat visibly destroyed. According to a survivor, the bus driver was trying to overtake, leading to the crash.
So ikabidi driver bus aipeshe the far right. Ndio isikigani head-on collision. So ile kuepesha alingangana mpaka katoa kichwa basi ikaepa kabisa, but ilianza kucrash kuanzia kwa ile mlango ya abiria ukirudi nyuma. So kuanzia kwa hiyo mlango ya abiria mpaka kwa nyuma ya basi ili crash hizo maviti zote, whereby watu wenye walikuwa hiyo side ndio walikuwa affected sana.
15 people who sustained serious injuries received treatment at Garissa Referral Hospital and some discharged.
Among them, 8 are male. We have 4 female patients and 3 children. So far, they have been treated and they're in stable condition.
2 more people succumbed while receiving treatment at the hospital.
13 bodies in the compound now from the same accident. Among them, there were 2 ladies and a child.
The number of road crash victims this year has slightly increased compared to those who died in 2018. Nuru Abdulaziz, NTV.
Time to take a breather right here on NTV Tonight, but as always, there's plenty more coming up, so don't go far.
Thank you for staying with us. In another distressing incident, a mother in Kericho is said to have poisoned her 3 young children before taking her own life.
21-year-old Ruth Atieno is said to have poisoned her children and then herself after a domestic disagreement.
The incident started the village of Societe in Kericho County. Residents drawn to the unusual happenings that had unfolded here. Police who had been called to the scene had to force the door open. Inside, a most ghastly scene, the bodies of a mother and her 3 children. 21-year-old Ruth Atieno is said to have poisoned her 3 children, 5, 3 and 6 months, before taking her own life.
Alikuwa na hasira sana. Alikuwa anakaa na watoto wake, lakini alikuwa anachapa watoto kama sio wake. Mpaka siku yenye tuliuliza watoto ni wako, wakaniambia ni wangu. Lakini siku yenye walichapana na mzee yake, tujui vile walikosania nini, mpaka akatoka akaenda.
Basically, this is a homicide involving a mother who took poison and also gave her 3 kids the same poison.
Belgut Deputy OCPD Anthony Masharia says the incident could have been triggered by a domestic misunderstanding. The 4 bodies were taken to Sigowet Sub-County Hospital mortuary. Nuru Abdulaziz, NTV.
The Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union is now threatening to withdraw its services from all the hospitals in Kirinyaga County if the issues of sanitation are not addressed.
KMPDU Central Region Secretary Dr. Gaur Gudi has warned the doctors will not continue working in filthy conditions after the county sacked over 200 casual workers.
Well, the doctors say despite the efforts made recently to clean up Kerugoya Hospital, the risk of contracting diseases is still rife.
The county contracted casuals to clean up, but the doctors say they are not trained on hospital waste disposal mechanisms.
Already just being in the hospital predisposes health workers to hospital-acquired infections, and the lack of the casuals, trained hospital casuals, has predisposed my members, the doctors, to these infections even more, and the patients most importantly.
The government has once again appeared to go against the court ruling on the Huduma number registration, issuing a veiled threat to those who fail to register.
The government says it will be difficult for those without the number to access government services.
So far, 31 million Kenyans have registered with just 5 days to the end of the mass registration exercise. Gladys Gishanja with that report.
A process that kicked off on April 2nd to register Kenyans on the National Integrated Identity Management System NIMS, dubbed Huduma number, is now on its final stretch. Though dogged by controversy from the onset, the interministerial team overseeing the exercise says the process has been a success.
We have registered 31 million Kenyans. That is a very impressive number. It represents about 65% of our projected population in the country.
With a week to go, the committee has extended the registration hours from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. to accommodate those yet to register. However, it has ruled out an extension of the mass registration exercise deadline slated for May 18th. The High Court ruled that the registration should not be forced on anyone, and the fact that one has not registered ought not to be a hindrance in accessing services.
We cannot force you to register. But we think it's a reasonable thing to do, because getting services any other way is going to be unnecessarily bothersome and cumbersome for you. But if that's what you prefer, to be making trips to an office 5-6 times, because no one can guarantee you they're going to get a document in a day or 2 or 3, that's also a choice for you to make.
With the Huduma number said to consolidate all your information and put it into one system, the bigger question in all this has been, is your data protected?
We already have systems and laws in place that take care of citizens' data. We're already taking care of your passport. We're already taking care of your ID. We have all this information and it's not freely available to people. So Kenyans should rest assured that your data is safe with the government.
Kenyans will be able to update their details on the NIMS platform by the end of June, whilst their counterparts in the diaspora have until 20th of June to register for their Huduma number in the 54 missions around the world. Gladys Gashanja, NTV.
All right, we are coming up to a break now, and Dennis will be hosting the business news when we return. Stay with us.
of a further 300 billion shillings to make its oil exploration venture productive, with the construction of a pipeline crucial towards making it economically viable. Petroleum and Mining Cabinet Secretary John Munyes says that so far about 200 billion shillings has been spent on the entire project, although the sale of crude oil is yet to take place. Here's Alex Mwangi with more on the status of oil exploration in the country.
The exploration of crude oil in northern Kenya is expected to better the livelihood of thousands of Kenyans, besides providing a critical source of foreign exchange revenue for the country. Investment in oil is, however, a capital-intensive affair.
We have spent $2 billion for the first exploratory phase. Now we need $3 billion more to enable us now construct a pipeline and continue exploration.
It is for this reason that the government opted to invest in the north through the Kenya Joint Venture, which is comprised of the government itself, Tullow Oil, the Africa Oil Corporation, and Total South Africa.
So far, we've tracked 87,000 barrels. To carry a vessel, we will need about 200,000 barrels, which is our target. By end of June, we should have that amount in a vessel. Then we look for the market.
The joint venture currently faces an existential threat, given that one of the partners has threatened to bolt out over alleged bureaucracy by the government in moving the project forward. As the Petroleum and Mining Ministry sorts out the matter, it is also involved with resolving the issue of the corridor for the pipeline, having come into agreement with all the other counties it traverses except Turkana.
We're yet to finalize with Turkana, because Turkana is where we also want to develop the central processing facility. So we will need more land in Turkana.
According to Munyes, the foray into northern Kenya for the exploitation of the black gold will in time deliver at least 10,000 jobs to Kenyans. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
The Competition Authority of Kenya has approved the proposed merger of NIC Group and the Commercial Bank of Africa on the condition that all the employees of the merged entity are retained for at least a year. The regulator says the merger is unlikely to lessen competition in the market because they will have a combined market share of 10.67% and continue to face competition from top-tier banks that collectively control 55.3% of the market. Once merged, the new entity will become the second largest bank in the country with a workforce of 1,872. The proposed merger will see CBA shareholders exchange their shares for 53% of the new shares in NIC, which will be the non-operating holding company for the merged entity. The deal is expected to be finalized in the second quarter of 2019. The government is moving to help secure savings and credit cooperatives members' monies by working on regulations that will see more cooperatives come under scrutiny by SASRA, the regulatory authority in charge of the movement. According to Cooperatives Permanent Secretary Ali Nur Ismail, the task force charged with drawing the regulations has already had them validated and will soon be gazetted to become the SACCO Societies Act. Currently, SASRA regulates at least 174 deposit-taking cooperatives, but will see at least 200 non-deposit-taking microfinance organizations with an asset base of over 200 million come under check. Noor was speaking at the sidelines of the cooperative movement leaders meeting in Nairobi ahead of the movement's national Ushirika celebrations scheduled for July 6th.
100 million is a lot of money. And if you have to have multiple SACCOs that have 100 million, 200 million, and they run into problems, then you can see that there'll be a problem in terms of the savings of the members of those SACCOs.
Businessman Richard Ngatia has been confirmed as the incoming president of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry KNCCI after all his challenges withdrew from the race and backed his bid. Ngatia, who served as the vice chairman of the National Business Lobby Group, will succeed Kiprono Kitoni, who has served 2 terms and a total of 7 years.
In the interests of the unity of the chamber, they have made a decision that the 2 of the candidates will be stepping down and supporting one of the candidates, who is Mr. Richard Ngatia, for the position of Chamber President.
Today we know that inspection by either Cotecna or SGS is taking more than a month, whether it is in China or wherever, and that is really hurting their businesses. And that is one of the things we want to advocate for. The other issue, of course, is payments, because these members, if they don't get payments on time, then again you can just imagine what happens to their businesses.
Now, some good news to all tech enthusiasts. American technology firm Microsoft will set up a technology development center in Kenya, the 7th of its kind globally. The center is set to be Microsoft's gateway to the East African region and is expected to provide potential for jobs and business opportunities for tech-savvy Kenyan youth in the various ICT specializations. Besides Nairobi, Microsoft has earmarked Nigeria as the other beneficiary of a similar facility on the continent to serve West Africa. The Nairobi Center is expected to be a premier hub of engineering for the U.S. technology company and its affiliates. We close business for the night. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more stories.
Welcome back. Now, the saying goes, when you go to Rome, do as the Romans do. But what happens if you're not in Rome, but want to venture into what Romans have thrived in? Well, that is what 41-year-old James Mwangi decided to do. Bring the fish business home with no expertise. Now, the initial reception was cold, but he has braved it all, and now, 5 years on, the Fisherman's Grill operates in 3 locations. On this week's My Job segment, NTV's Mel Miendo caught up with Mwangi and brings us his story.
James Mwangi is a research officer by profession and a businessman in the food industry. For the past 5 years now, he has ventured into the fish market, a business he says came about from his passion for good food.
You go to the different places, you're looking for fish, you're not sure when you buy it whether you should take it to your family because of the conditions that they keep the fish, and fish is very sensitive.
And from that time, Mwangi saw an opportunity where he could fill in the gaps which he saw in the region where he hails. He took it upon himself to go to great extents in bringing the fish business. The Fisherman's Grill started out small, but Mwangi was determined.
My first fish business was in Dindigwa, that's along Kiambu Road, and I had to look for a place where fish would move actually. I started with raw fish, then I realized people wanted more than raw, so we started cooking the fish.
Mwangi admits that he was uncertain about the future of his business. He knew this was new territory in a region where not many were consuming his product.
I was venturing into a new business out of passion. People will go to Kisumu to look for fish because they believe that that's where you get best quality fish. So now I had to get the fish from Kisumu and bring it to Dindigwa, which was a big challenge.
The first year of business was challenging for Mwangi. He says the to and fro movements from the lakeside in Kisumu to Tindigwa in Kiambu was quite costly, and not just that, but it took quite some time for people to actually buy fish from him.
When we started, the sales were very low. People had not developed trust in our product, and it took long before people now got used to the fish and we got good flow of customers.
On average, he sells about 450 pieces of fish for daily consumption in all 3 shops, with prices ranging from 400 to 500 shillings per fish.
Our greatest competitor is the Chinese fish imports, and it has posed a great challenge in our business.
Mwangi attributes part of his achievements to his current broadened customer spectrum, having given himself a name in the fish business over the years. He now hopes that in 1 or 2 years he will expand the Fisherman's Grill business to major towns countrywide.
Wow, 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 wow. So this fish has been prepared by the Fisherman's Grill. You've seen James Mwangi doing it. He's actually the one who's done all this, and it looks amazing. It just goes to show that you can start small and end up big, and it doesn't end there. The sky is never the limit, as they say. So as I enjoy my lunch, this is my job with me, Mel Miendo, on NTV.
Well, Mel Miendo, yeah, and how do we know whether you enjoyed that fish? Because we didn't see you taste it.
And I like what she said at the end, and as I enjoy my lunch, this is my job.
Yeah, she wishes it was her job. All right, I'm sure it did taste great though.
Well, let's move to another story where President Uhuru Kenyatta is back in the public limelight after a short hiatus. The president, who hasn't been seen in public since arriving from China about 3 weeks ago, was today seen signing bills in footage released by State House.
Well, appearing rather jolly and perhaps undisturbed by the unsuccessful trip to China, he assented to the Health Amendment Bill and the Assumption of Office of County Governor Bill.
Kenyans on Twitter had started a spirited search for the president using the hashtag Find President Uhuru, complete with the president's mugshot, asking online users to help trace the whereabouts of President Kenyatta, who they said had gone missing after the trip to China.
Well, the online search noted that the president had silently returned to the country from China on the 30th of April and had not been seen in public since or spoken about China since. Take care once again. Yeah. But now guess who is talking about China? ODM leader Raila Odinga, who had accompanied the president to seek funding for the extension of the SGR from Naivasha to Kisumu.
Odinga now says the trip to China was not a failure, blaming sections of the media for what he termed as a misrepresentation of facts about the trip. Okukusa reports.
It was during a working tour of development projects in Kisumu today where the ODM leader chose to break the ice over the much publicized trip to China.
We never failed in China. We never failed in China. The media has been coming up with all sorts of propaganda, and I don't know why our media is so negative, and they know themselves. Be more positive.
Raila, who is also the African Union's High Commissioner for Infrastructural Development, did not disclose much about the trip, but maintained that plans to extend the SGR from Naivasha to Kisumu were still on course.
And I mentioned, and I want to repeat it, Naivasha, Narok, Bomet, Nyamira, Sondu, Kisumu. That is the line of the SGR, and it is on.
Wananchi wapendwa, naomba makofi mazuri tunapomkaribisha Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga.
Raila, who was accompanied by 3 cabinet secretaries, began his tour of what has come to be known as the handshake projects, with a visit to Ombei in Muhoroni sub-county, where some 500 acres of land has been set aside to construct a special economic zone.
Our estimation, if you have an industrial zone of around 500 acres, the industry set up there could employ close to 24,000 people.
The president himself is very much behind this project, and he said that they want to come here in August to do the launching of this project formally. And we will invite President Museveni to come here, and also President Tshisekedi of the DRC in August. And so it's all systems go.
Apart from the industrial park, rehabilitation of Kisumu port at a cost of 2.5 billion shillings and the building of a ship assembly yard are some of the projects the government is set to commission in the Lakeside County in the next 3 months.
This investment in Kisumu and across the shores, they must be synchronized. That's why we are actually putting this money in advance of even the other money which will come when we start doing the new port of 14 billion shillings.
Also set for commissioning is the 1.9 billion shillings Kenya Pipeline Company's oil jetty.
But with this jetty, we hope to remove 260 trailers on the road. That is safety for us, integrity of our products. It will mean, therefore, accidents. Our infrastructure that is being destroyed by tankers is now going to be saved.
But even as Raila and his team spoke of massive economic benefits for the people of Kisumu, some residents cried foul.
Alipia watu wakulima wa Muhoroni 70. Sisi tutaki investors aende afungue miwa.
Huko Kusa, NTV.
Well, the government has laid up radical plans, including a possible shift to genetically modified organism technology to revive Kenya's agriculture, which is one of the least profitable in the world.
One of the key proposals is the establishment of 50 new large-scale farms of 2,500 acres or more in a plan aimed at unlocking up to 500,000 acres of new farm production.
While much of the land will be state-owned, the new farm enterprises will be predominantly funded, owned and operated by the private sector.
But is this enough to rescue the country from the grip of hunger? Read in the Daily Nation tomorrow, that's on your screen, about the plan to carve up the country into 40 agricultural zones and how the government plans to provide irrigation, processing and post-harvest aggregation.
Do not miss your copy tomorrow. We take a break and sports is up next.
had a fantastic start to the week. I'm Ida Orenga. It's time to play on NTV Sport. And with slightly over a month left until first kickoff at the African Cup of Nations in Egypt, Harambee Stars head coach Sebastian Minye will name the squad to represent Kenya on Tuesday. The unveiling that's set for 10 a.m. at FKF Goal Project in Kasarani will also see the Frenchman name the squad for the African Nations Championships qualifier against Burundi that will be set to be played in August 2019. Well, the Harambee Stars, who will be taking part in AFCON for the first time in 15 years, are scheduled to jet out to Paris on May 31st for a 19-day residential camp before flying out to Cairo, Egypt on June 19th ahead of the Continental Showpiece. FKF has secured 2 friendly matches in France, the first against Madagascar on June 7th and another against Gambia a week later. With IAAF's fetting of Iten Town in Elgeyo Marakwet County as a global heritage location, the athletics governing body acknowledged what the running fraternity already knew, that Iten is indeed the home of champions. Gabriel Kudaka visited the high-altitude town and filed this report.
Over the years, the sleepy town of Iten, Christian home of champions, which lies some 2,400 meters above sea level, has been churning out an endless chain of wild-beating athletes. On a normal day, local and foreign athletes going about their training in the town is a common sight. So what lures them to Iten?
In Europe, we not have the altitude. The altitude here is more high, it's 2,300, 2,400. I see always in my watch when I train here.
The county government of Elgeyo Marakwet hopes to use the training landmark title as bait to attract more investors to the town.
We want to make the town more conducive for investments and want to urge all investors that Iten now is ripe for you to come and set up hospitality facilities, either sports camps.
Over the years, Iten town has been producing wild-beating athletes, and with the recent fitting of the town by IAAF as a training landmark, athletes hope it will be an eye-opener for the government to do more in terms of improving training facilities.
We request the national government to speed up the construction of Kamarin. Kamarin has stalled for several years, and we hope the Elgeyo Marakwet County will really speed up the construction of Kiptingo Field.
Similar concerns were echoed by St. Patrick's Iten Fraternity, another athletics powerhouse.
Wanafunzi wetu wameongezeka kwa idadi na tunahitaji uwanja ya kufanyia mazoezi.
Iten was named alongside Bekoji town in Ethiopia in the landmark category of important towns for athletics training. Gabriel Kudaka, NTV Sports.
Wonderful achievement for Iten Town. Let's move on. And the East African Kennel Club held its 100-year celebrations over the weekend at the Jamhuri Park Dog Ring. Hundreds of dog enthusiasts, breeders and owners brought out their canine friends. Some of the breeds included Alsatians, German Shepherds, Bulldogs, Retrievers and Dachshunds. In the large dog section, the Siberian Husky emerged the winner, while Isa Minor's Pug breed was declared the overall winner. Kenya is regarded as the second best country in the continent when it comes to dog breeding after South Africa. As a dog lover myself, that was very, very interesting to watch. Let's move on. And preparations are underway at Atletico Madrid's Wanda Metropolitano Stadium to host the All-English Champions League final between Liverpool and Tottenham on June 1st. Each club has been allocated... Manchester City became the first team since Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United back in 2009 to lift the English Premier League title back-to-back. And while most of the attention was on the blue citizens of Manchester, there was a little girl who stole all the hearts at Anfield.
If she puts it in the net, she's running towards the goal.
He's laughing, Mo.
Adorable Mo Salah's daughter there clearly might be a future female Ballon d'Or winner. That wraps it up on sports. More updates tomorrow. I'm Ida Orenga. Enjoy your evening.
Well, thank you so much for watching this news broadcast. Our sign language presenter tonight was David Agondoa.
Well, I'm Smriti Vidyarthi. Thanks for joining us. Next up, it's Press Pass with Olive Burrows. Don't go far.